one of the things that was bothering me, and probably one of the reasons why it took long to hit the studio and get back to recording, was how was I going to reintroduce myself back to the market? Because I'm not a new artist. I was there before I dropped out. So how am I going to, market myself or promote myself, or what imagery would I want to use, to break through the market again? Because it's difficult, most people who drop out, who stop their music career at an early age, they never get to have a comeback. I think only Yashinsky among the few are the ones who are able to do it. So that really stressed me out, and I think that's part of the reason why I took long before hitting up the studio. Petrus and I have been talking about going back to recording since 2019, and I thought maybe 2020 was the year because Corona, and I had all that time, but still I did not. And I thought 2021 was going to be the year, but then I was busy with work, and then I just said, you know what, this year I'm going to do it, because this year was significant. I was, it was the end of my 20s and the beginning of my 30s, and I felt like one thing that I had not really explored in my 20s, and trust me, I did a lot of things in my 20s. One of the things that I never really explored was the music, and it's something that I believe I'm really good at, and a lot of people were wondering, why is it that I stopped? And so I thought to myself, the best possible way to make a comeback would probably be to tell people why I stopped music in the first place. And best way to do that is through a song. That's how I came up with the concept of Who Am I, the track, which later became the title of the EP. When we were recording the EP, I really did not have a direction of where it was going. I just knew I needed to record. I called Petrus and I was like, yo, Petrus, I think it's time. I need to do this thing right now, because I am not crossing over to third floor without me completing this one task. So when we went to the studio, I had a clue of the first song. I had a clue of the first song that I wanted to record, but it was just a verse. It was the first verse of Who Am I. I had written it. It took me quite a while to write it, because it's a fragment. I took fragments of different verses that I'd been writing low key. As a true artist, I never stop writing. I've always been writing. So I took fragments of different tracks that I had been writing all over, and then I just took some parts here and there, and then I put it together and became a track, because I was talking about who I am. I wanted to explain to people who is the Vedette, who am I. But that song is not really for the people, it's actually for me, because those who know me or those who don't know me, it's in my 20s I did a lot of things, and the downside of that is I'm suffering from an identity crisis. Who am I really? What is it that I do? I've been like a jack of all trades, trying this, trying that, doing this, doing that. And the thing about me is, once I start a project, I pour my heart into it, kabisa, and it drains me sometimes. If it's successful, then well and good. If it does not work out, then I've drained a lot of time and resources and energy. And yeah, so who am I was really a question to me, like, who am I? I could say it is two things. I was asking myself, who am I? And I was trying to explain to people who I am, and I did not have a clear answer to that. So what I did is I told people who I was, like who I was musically before I quit, and that's how the first verse of the track is. Who am I? I tried to address that question very well in the first track. Like I said, it's fragments of different verses that I had written throughout the years, and I just put them together. And people who are close to me, maybe they will understand deeper, because it talks about, it's like an autobiography, it's like I'm rewriting history. I'm talking about the things that we did in the past. And it's no wonder the track is not doing so well on all the streaming platforms. It's on Spotify, it's the only track with less than 1,000 streams. I think it's a good rap, but unless you get to understand the deeper meaning of it, or the roots, or the background towards it, you're not going to appreciate the song. You'll just think, they're just bragging. And like I said, I went to the studio with the first verse already in mind. I did not know how it was going to be. I did not even have the title for it. Who Am I came about after we had recorded it. And as usual, I never have choruses. I am very, very terrible with chorus. So the verse, basically what I'm doing is I'm talking about my early stages in rap, when I started rap career, when I back in, I can't remember, 2013, 2012, I can't remember really. I was still in campus. And it was a tough period, it was because we were broke, we didn't have money, we didn't have a studio. Me and Petrus and I have been, we go way back. We were sneaking in studio time, because I couldn't afford to pay him. We couldn't afford to, he needed to record, and the people he was recording, they were not doing the type of music that he wanted. See, primarily, Petrus he's an all-round artist, but back then, he wanted to experiment with hip-hop, and a lot of people who were recording were just doing this, the regular love kind of song, the bongo kind of style. And we were the only ones who were doing hip-hop, the kind of hip-hop that he wanted, and he wanted to add, just experiment with some urban type of beats. So it was easy for him to work with me and the rest of us. And despite, us being broke and not being able to, pay studio time. So we went ahead, recorded a couple of tracks, sneaking in here and there. So many others went unreleased because we didn't even have the time to finish with the edits. What do you call it? Mastering, not edits. Mastering for the sound. So, we have the tracks. They're ready. We want people to listen. But there are no shows. There are practically no shows for hip-hop artists in Mombasa. Back then, there was only Last Word Standing, where Last Word Standing was primarily for poets. But hip-hop guys hijacked it. Yeah, but it was for poets. It started as a things, poetry and spoken word, and then just hip-hop guys, because there was no one else who could perform. We stormed it. And then the other one was a gig at Little Theatre. I can't remember its name. What was the name of this gig at Little Theatre? It used to be every Wednesday, I think. I forgot about it. So yeah, those are the only places that you could perform. And the first line in the verse is, I wasn't getting any bookings, I started my own shows. The first show I ever did was called the Ultimate Hip Hop Experience, and it was, every Wednesday at Yellow Ribbon. It was the whole idea behind it was to bring together hip hop artists and people in the hip hop scene, just so they could network, have a place where they can hang out every week, In this case, it was on Wednesdays. Launch their new tracks, talk about the new projects, and just perform. And it started out low, but within the few weeks, it was gaining momentum until it was the club was getting shut down, sold to a new owner, and so that's how we moved. That's how we stopped doing our events there. And then I tried Project Boat, Battle of 1,000. It didn't work. And then I teamed up with Stunt Masters Production and Alliance Francaise Mombasa, and we did Destination Unknown, which was quite nice because it was not primarily hip hop, although the first priority was to hip hop artists. It was going all round. It also included other genres. I remember Jukwa the band performed there, and even Crystal Asigi, she performed there before she blew up with Sauti Sol. And I did also a couple other events. It was the revival concert. Yeah, so that was about it. And so I wasn't getting, and just to highlight what was happening during that period, I created a blog. The Ultimate Hip Hop Experience was the show, and then I just created a blog with the same name, Ultimate Hip Hop Experience, where I could write and showcase, the things that Mombasa artists were doing, the hip hop artists in Mombasa were doing, because I felt like they were being sidelined. I feel like they were not really being put in the scene, me included. Remember, I am doing all these things because I am not getting them. So, and I will not be solving the problem just by creating a blog that's talking about me, or doing a show where I'm the only one who's performing. See, I'm not really solving the problem. Rather, I'm just creating a bigger problem. So you can put it that way. So yeah, where I really blew up, and I'm putting that in quotes because it was not like the blowing up, like going viral. Where I really blew up and became a household name was from Big Tree, because they were doing this. This is before I started working there. I had gone to watch Jukwa Band play, and then I was invited on stage, and I did a freestyle set. And then the owner of Big Tree happened to be there. He was an Italian guy called Luciano with his friend Tiger. And they told me, "Yo, have you ever been to Big Tree on a Sunday?" I said, "No." Said, "Okay, come this Sunday. I want you to do what you've just done there." So I went to Big Tree on Sunday, and they were having this show. It was like a family show every Sunday, any given Sunday, and with DJ Bones and MC Tony Boy, and DJ Bones just put the beats, and I started rapping. I was freestyling. I was talking about shit. You know how we do these things. I tell them to pick up a topic, and they start rapping about it, and they were really impressed. I'm not really that good when it comes to freestyle. I've never considered myself a freestyle artist, but I could just say a few words that rhymes and clever words here and there, and people would go bananas. I was getting tips. I was getting rounds and rounds of applause, and that is how people started taking me seriously as an artist. And what did I do? I invited my friends, and I told them, there's this thing we're doing every Sunday, so you guys can come over and could rap. And I remember I was battling with Disaster. Right now he calls himself Dizzy. And we made a good run, and we were selling CDs. But back then iTunes and Spotify was still for the cool kids. So what we did, Disaster had just launched this album called Black City, and me, I just pulled a compilation of all my tracks, and we were selling CDs at the back of Big Tree Pale Nyoma. So just the hustle, And if you listen to the track, the first verse, and you were there, or you experienced these things, or you watch these things happen, then you can get to relate to it more. But a lot of people who are just hearing it for the first time, it doesn't make sense. When I say one line, Big Tree, any given Sunday, kill them with the flow, freestyle off the dome, my name started to grow. It's one line, two lines, it's just one bar, but it carries with it a lot of history, because these were memorable moments. It's not just something that happened one time and then stop. It was something that grew over a long period of time. So in the introduction of the song, which is the introduction of the EP, I wanted to remind people who I was, people who knew me as a rapper back then, who I was. And I got mixed reactions when I dropped this EP, because a lot of people were like, "Huh? So you can rap?" And then others were like, "Wow, it's good to have you back." And I needed something that would put these two groups of people together on the same page in a single track. So who am I? The track. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explain to my old fans. I'm trying to remind them who I was, in case you forgot. This is who I am. And my new fans, or the new people who know me and they did not know that I rap, I was just trying to tell them, before this, there was this other guy who was doing these things, and so you can just familiarize yourself with it before you start listening to the EP. And I think what I was trying to explain in that track was my contribution to hip-hop, or the things that I did. And while I was busy trying to salvage the industry, I was sabotaging my career. I was young and energetic, and I thought I knew it, and I thought I could save the world, all this fairy tales kind of shit. And in the process, I was slowly sabotaging my career. Not really sabotaging, neglecting. I was slowly neglecting my career and my passion and all these other things, trying to take on the industry single-handedly. It was just frustrating. I was frustrated. I was tired. I was demoralized, and I just pulled out unannounced. Even though my career was really, really promising. And still, when I was outside, away from the game, I still was regarded as one of the dopest hip-hop artists there to ever grace the microphone. Maybe that's too cocky. People still regarded me with respect, and that's why I say, even when I'm sitting on the sidelines, they still don't stand a chance. I've been out of the game, but they can still feel my presence. Now I had the song put together the way I wanted it to be, and I thought this is going to be a perfect introduction to the EP. And when I was going to the studio to record with Petrus, I only had this one verse in mind. I did not have the second verse. And I did not know how I wanted this to be. I just thought it's going to be some hardcore rap and, some crazy old school hip hop beat, and I'm going to drop hard bars on it. And then shock on me, because when I got to the studio, Petrus told me, okay, fine, I want to listen to what you have. And then he just put some demo beat there, and then it was just like a boom bap beat, boom bap. And then from the Logic loops, so I just started rapping. And then when I was done, this guy comes in. Petrus plays the song without the background beats, and then this guy starts to play the guitar, and then suddenly it turns to acoustics, and I'm looking at Petrus, I'm wondering, what the fuck is going on here? But before I protest, I just sat down and decided to listen. Just okay, let me just watch. Let me assume that this guy is a master, like I've always respected him to be, and just watch what he's going to do. And what he did was just out of my mind. And I'm telling you, the guitar that was put there, the acoustics, this is what set tune to the entire EP. When I walked into the studio, I did not know what I wanted. I did not know how, it's going to formulate. But the moment I heard the guy plucking the guitar strings, and I was just sure. The words just started coming in my mind. I wrote the second verse there, and then I remember the guy was surprised. I was like, you came to the studio with one verse? And I was like, yeah, I'm the Vedette, I can do whatever I want. And immediately I sat down and wrote the second verse right there in the studio and recorded it same day. And I think it's something to do with the guitar strings that sparked up a lot of emotion, because what I wrote in the second verse is something that I I didn't even know I felt. I didn't even know. I'd never thought about it that way. How, and it was just a spur of the moment thing, but I think it's just something that I had been suppressing deep inside me for such a long time. And it just came out. The moment I picked up the pen and started writing, it just flowed down, 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 till the very end, till the last verse, till the last line of the verse. And I'm old school. I don't sometimes I usually type on the phone, but I'm old school. I like writing down on I have notebooks and pieces of papers and pens. I like writing down and then looking at it, and then just the old school type. And these thoughts just flowed in me. you know I don't know how to say, like the waterfall. It was just pure, epic, profound moment just from the pluck of the guitar strings. And it was a little, the second verse was a bit different. The first verse, I was trying to explain to people who I was. I wasn't getting any booking. I started my own show. That's who I was. Never made it to the best rappers list. All I got is supermodels on my X list. I was trying to explain to people who I was. In the second verse, I was trying to explain to people how I felt at that moment, what I was actually going through behind the vedette, what was the emotion, the things that I was feeling, the things that I was experiencing at that moment, was what were the observations that I was making. And this is some of the things that really contributed to me, taking a step back and studying the game. So more of that in the next episode, if I ever make it.